What a headshot! What a head!
How's it, guys? This is Dayvy, FPL, and welcome back to the Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. Now in this video, I've got an absolute banger for you guys. I asked ChatGPT to make the best FPL team, and this is what happened. So did ChatGPT actually cook, or is this draft absolutely disastrous? Well, you guys are going to have to watch this video to find out. Spoiler alert, don't worry, this draft is actually pretty decent. It might be better than some of those that I've seen on Twitter. So generative AI is a massive hot topic at the moment. I personally have used it in my work and I've made my own generative AI models, so I thought I'd bring it to the world of FPL. So if you guys are interested to see what draft it created, sit back, relax, and let's get straight into it. Now the first thing I just want to clarify is this is not actually from ChatGPT. If you guys do know the model, the data it uses is from a few years back, so not relevant to the upcoming season. So what I used in this video was actually ChatFPL, which was created by Fantasy Football Fix, and you guys can go check it out for yourself using the link in the description. Now don't worry, Fix didn't approach me and say you have to make this video. I actually approached them, as I thought this would be an absolute banger, and I actually think it's an absolute game changer. Now there is a free version if you guys haven't got a subscription to Fix, but the pro version will obviously give you better results. Now when I approached Fantasy Football Fix to do this video, they said 100% go crazy. The only thing they wanted me to mention is that it still isn't beta, and therefore it can make mistakes. But if you guys are familiar with generative AI, you'll know that it can make mistakes, and that's sometimes due to our own prompts or questions. Now the results are still pretty good, but as you guys can see on screen, unfortunately they need to make some corrections here. When asked, am I the best YouTuber? It came back with that it can't have an opinion, which is obviously very incorrect. The answer is yes. So for Fix, go back to the drawing board, get better data into this model, so that the next time I ask this question, I get the right response. But all joking aside, I'll take you guys through the prompts that I selected to get this team, as I did make a few variations according to what I wanted. But just shout out to Fix for making this tool. As mentioned, I believe it's an absolute game changer. And even if you guys want to check out the free version, it can be quite valuable for comparisons and basically anything FPL related. So let's get on to the actual team or draft that it created. Now the prompt I used was give me the best squad based on projected points for the opening 6 game weeks. Now if you guys are not familiar with what projected points are, it's basically a model that predicts how many points a specific player will score every single game week. And that's one of the inputs that ChatFPL has. Now as you guys can see, I've got 0.0 in the bank, so I could just afford this draft. But if you guys want some money in the bank, you can always specify that in your question. So let's run through this team and actually see if it's good. I'll be going through it the traditional forwards to the defenders, starting 11 and then bench. So the biggest question is, does ChatFPL like Erling Haaland? Well, the question is yes, but not enough to captain him in game week 1. But they have included him at 15.0 million. Now if you guys have used kind of other projection websites and optimization tools, you'll notice that it usually doesn't include Erling Haaland, either that or it doesn't have Mo Salah, so it will be interesting to see what the team structure is here. Now I believe Erling Haaland is quite essential, so nice to see that the model kind of backs that up, and every day we creep closer to game week 1, his ownership is rising and rising. Now the algorithm also likes those cheap budget forwards. Chris Wood is going to be here at 6.0 million. Now everyone knows about those Nottingham Forest opening fixtures. The first 3 are all green, and Chris Wood has looked pretty strong towards the end of last season as well as in the preseason. Now some slight concerns about rotation could be there, but I do believe he's the Forest number 1 at the moment. Now ChatFPL actually included 2 budget forwards with Muniz as well, and I haven't seen many drafts that actually look like this. Now don't worry, if you guys are very keen on Isaac like myself, at the end of the video I specified a prompt that included Isaac, and I'll show you the changes that the algorithm made. But as mentioned, haven't really seen the 2 budget strikers up front in many drafts, so it could be an approach if you guys want to go there. Now ChatFPL actually included Salah as well as the captain here at 12.5 million. So very nice to see the projected points are still looking like the double up could be good, and as mentioned in my final draft video, if you want to captain Salah, I would go for him. Now I do think it might be quite close between him, Saka, Isaac and Erling Haaland, and that's why I actually dropped him to Saka in my draft. But does ChatFPL know something that I don't about Mo Salah? Maybe I should reconsider including the Egyptian in my team. Now we're going to continue in the midfield department with Anthony Gordon at 7.5 million, an option I had at the start of the season, but has dropped off in my most recent drafts. Now his stats do look very strong. Newcastle's opening fixtures also look good from an attacking point of view. I think some people are worried about his starting position after not having many preseason minutes. But as Eddie Howe said, he's a youngster, he'll have that fitness naturally, and therefore should be fine for Game Week 1. Now if you guys do know about stats and have looked at like projected points, you'll know there's one option in the midfield department that the stats love, and that's Eze 7.0. So no mistakes here, Eze is going to be in the squad. I can understand it though, he's more of a talisman at Crystal Palace at a cheaper price point, with great stats to back him up. Now I won't lie to you, I really wish that he would have scored or at least assisted in the last Crystal Palace game, but apparently they had a good overall structure. So one of the main options that hasn't really left my squad, this team is looking more and more template as we go along, but don't worry, there's a massive shake-up in the last midfielder position. So at 5.5, Chat FPL has selected McNeil as their favourite option, a play that's going under the radar you could say. Now I'm not too fond of going for many Everton attackers to be honest, but in that 5.5 bracket you might as well take a punt, and McNeil has backed it up in the previous seasons. Now the beauty about this is that if you guys don't love McNeil, you can simply just enter a prompt to say, please replace McNeil with someone like a Smith Rowe or an Andreas, or you can even downgrade him and upgrade another position. You can specify anything you want. So this midfield 4, not many complaints can be had there. Maybe we'd upgrade McNeil or switch him to another player, but I can understand his selection based on the stats. Now the defense also starts off looking pretty strong with Trent Alexander-Arnold. Even though he comes in at 7.0 million, the algorithm has selected him, and I had him in my final draft as well. It's a very easy selection. I think the stats look pretty strong. If Liverpool can keep more clean sheets, he could be absolute FPL gold. Another option with high potential is going to be Guardiola, also selected by the algorithm, and I was quite surprised to see the lack of Arsenal defenders. But I personally do like him. I believe the City fixtures are better at the start of the season to the Arsenal ones. And just remember, this was for the opening 6 game weeks. If you guys want a longer projection, you can always enter 10 weeks, but that probably would be the limit as you don't want to plan too long into the future. Now the final defender was also a popular one that I've seen. It's actually Munoz from Crystal Palace at the more increased price tag of 5.0 million. Now big news came out, apparently Gay is going to sign for Newcastle, that's almost confirmed. So does that jeopardize Munoz's kind of defensive threat? I guess you are buying him for those attacking returns, does play as a more natural wing back, and if you do have 0.5 in the bank, I can see the upgrade from a 4.5. Crystal Palace also pretty good fixtures to start off the season, and they ended last season in red hot form. So that back line, I can perfectly understand it. I've actually seen this over on FPL Twitter, so I think the algorithm has done pretty well here. But now let's go on to the goalkeepers, and this is probably where the first red flag does appear, but I can't blame the algorithm to be honest. So as you guys can see, Flecken is first choice at 4.5, but Onana's on the bench at 5.0. Now what you guys might find, if you make an algorithm, it does usually favor rotating goalkeepers, as on paper, that looks like a viable strategy. You can get a perfect combination like Flecken and Onana that has very strong defensive fixtures, but in terms of general FPL, this never really works. So one of my first requests that I made to Chat FPL was to downgrade Onana to a 4.0, and then I said change the rest of the team with that money in the bank. Now interestingly enough, it actually came back to me and said, even if you downgrade Onana, the team stays the same, so you'll just have that 1.0 in the bank then. But for the team's sake, I just included Onana here because I wanted to explain what the algorithm did, just so that you guys can correct it if you want to. But with the Flecken selection, you can understand why, very consistent option, and the projected points do kind of favor him. Now we spoke about the goalkeeper rotation, and that's what usually kind of happens is you have rotating goalkeepers, but the same usually happens on the bench. Now interestingly enough, this didn't actually happen. We had some cheap options, such as a Winks at 4.5 and a Harwood Bellis. Now there was at least some bench coverage though, with Robertson from Fulham at 4.5, also a popular defensive option in most people's teams. But after seeing this bench, I was pretty impressed with what the Chat FPL algorithm came up with, and you guys can let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. So did Chat FPL actually cook, or is this team pretty bad? I think there are some improvements, but I think it's a very good attempt. Now I already spoke about one change that I would make, one player that I consider to be essential, and that's Isaac from Newcastle, so I asked the algorithm to actually include him in the squad. With his increased price tag, we therefore had to find 2.5 million to upgrade Chris Wood or Muniz to the 8.5 striker, and these are the changes it made. So the first change was it actually took out Chris Wood, not Muniz. It does prefer him over the opening fixtures, and then it started Isaac in. Now the first downgrade was actually to take Onana out for Turner. That saves you 1.0 million, so nice to see that it understands that you should downgrade your second goalkeeper. Then the second change was to take Guardiola out for a 4.5, and that's an extra 1.5 to make 2.5. Now the selection of the 4.5 was actually Lewis Dunk. I don't think Brighton have the best opening fixtures, but he has been a consistent option throughout the previous FPL seasons. So maybe I would have gone for another 4.5, but that's a very small kind of change that I would have made. And this structure of team looks pretty similar to the drafts I've seen on FPL Twitter. This might even be quite similar to the draft that you made. One of the biggest omissions probably is Nkunku, but does this tell us that we should actually be targeting him? But the algorithm probably doesn't like him because he doesn't have very good historic data in the Premier League. But the best thing about this is that if you guys do have a preference like myself with Isaac, you can simply prompt the algorithm to change it, and it'll suit the team according to your specs. But very interesting exercise. I know it's just the beta version, but this is pretty strong for that. And you guys can let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, or if you use the algorithm, tell me what team it came up with. Now one of the things I want to add is that it does sometimes mix up the price points. Therefore, if you guys do a prompt, just say that it must refresh to the latest price information, and then it updated to the latest season. Just something I picked up, but they'll sort that out through continuous testing. And once again, thanks to them for letting me talk about this topic. So hopefully you guys did enjoy this. Hopefully you don't think this is better as an FPL manager than myself, as I'll be showing you my latest team selection in a few days' time. But let me know if you guys want to see more videos on Chat FPL, as I think it's a great topic. This is basically a wrap for the video, guys. Hope you guys did enjoy it. Please don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you have subscribed yet. I'll be seeing you guys for loads more content heading into that Friday night deadline. Just a reminder, we are doing a deadline stream 1 hour before the deadline. But for the time being, I'm signing off. It's been Dayvy FPL, and I'm out. Cheers, bye.